What's the hardest thing about writing? Well, it's getting started. Maybe you're having a hard time coming up with a story idea, or you're stuck on where to take your story next. If you want a way into a story or a way through, I have 9 story starters to help you. This free PDF is full of story seeds and prompts to get you going. To download your 9 story starters, go to nancypanuccio.com/start. That's Nancy with an I, Panuccio with 2 C's, nancypanuccio.com/start. We cling to predictability and certainty in real life. It's comforting. We don't like the anxiety of not knowing, but certainty has no place in fiction. Uncertainty is a powerful lever to keep readers invested in your story by having them uncertain about outcomes, uncertain about your character's fate or future. Writer Unleashed is for you, a writer who has a story you want to bring onto the page and into the hearts and minds of readers. I'm Nancy Panuccio, writer, editor, and writing coach, and each week we'll explore techniques, mindsets, and inspiration for writing stories readers can't put down. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let's begin. At the time of this recording, we're in the midst of a very contentious presidential election in the U.S. It's a very tight race. We don't know the outcome. There's a lot of anxiety. It's a very polarizing election. And I, for one, am spending way too much time looking at polls, scouring Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, trying to predict who our next president will be. And at this point, we just can't predict. There's intense uncertainty. And this election is tight. It's a tight race. So we're in a suspended state of excruciating uncertainty and anxiety. We're eager to get to the end and hopefully get the outcome we want. We want to know how the story is going to end. We can't wait for the answer to who our next president is going to be. But no matter who wins, the result is going to be devastating to roughly half the country. Our future is uncertain. Now, how does this all relate to storytelling? Well, predictability may keep us feeling safe and certain, which is why we're anxious for the election results. But predictability is fatal in story. You never want the reader to see what's coming next. You want to withhold. A great story is unpredictable. Once the reader can predict how the plot will unfold, when there's nothing to wonder about, worry about, guess, or intuit, there's no reason to read any further. So you want to stay one step ahead of your reader, and in most cases, one step ahead of your characters. You know what's going to happen to your characters. You know what the outcome of the story will be, but your characters don't, and neither do your readers. Or at least they shouldn't know. So in this episode, I'm going to give you 4 ways to create and sustain uncertainty in your story. So let's get right to it. Number 1, character worry. When your protagonist doesn't know what's going to happen next or worries about what might happen next when they're under physical or emotional threat or duress, when there's a perceived possibility of danger, physical or emotional, they're going to feel anxious and worried, and so will your reader. The uncertainty comes from us wondering with your character whether the danger will happen or not. This is uncertainty at the level of scene. For example, your protagonist is expecting her son to come off the bus after school, but he doesn't. She's uncertain about where he is. Is he safe? Did he get on the wrong bus? Did he even make it to school? So we're suspended in uncertainty alongside the character. Another example I've used comes from Gabriel Talon's novel, My Absolute Darling. The protagonist is 14-year-old Julia. Her nickname is Turtle. And she lives in a cabin with her survivalist father who stockpiles weapons and is abusive to his daughter. Now, early in the novel, she challenges her father for having filed her hunting knife too short, and she tells him it's not sharp enough anymore. In response, her father coerces her to jump up to the rafter and hang on while he taunts her with her knife to prove that it is indeed sharp enough. He presses up with the knife and says, "Upsy daisy." Okay, so she's forced now to do pull-ups to keep the knife from cutting her. But her physical strength can only take her so far. So her legs start to quiver. She begins to lower herself, but her father says, up abruptly and warningly, the knife resting against her crotch. She trembles, not able to fully raise herself back to the rafter, and so puts her face against its splintery side, holding her cheek there. She strains, thinking, please, please, please. So he forces her to do 13 pull-ups, and when she thinks she's got no strength left, he says, "You think the knife's sharp now, don't you? You believe it now, don't you?" So we're uncertain about how far her father will go, and this makes the tension excruciating for both Turtle and the reader. Here's another example from Angie Thomas's young adult novel, The Hate You Give. Now, a turning point in the story for the protagonist, a Black teenager named Star, is when she gets a ride home from her friend Kali, who's stopped by police at a traffic stop and is killed for no good reason. This fundamentally changes her. Months later, cops stop her father in front of his own store and start harassing him. Here's the excerpt. "You got some ID on you?" the black cop asks Daddy. "Sir, I was about to go back to my store. I said, do you have some ID on you?" My hands shake. Breakfast, lunch, and everything else churns in my stomach, ready to come back up my throat. They're going to take Daddy from me. What's going on? I turn around. Tim, Mr. Rubin's nephew, walks over to us. People have stopped on the sidewalk across the street. "I'm going to reach for my ID," Daddy says. "It's in my back pocket. All right?" "Daddy," I say. Daddy keeps his eyes on the officer. "You all go in the store, all right? It's okay. We don't move, though." Daddy's hand slowly goes to his back pocket, and I look from his hands to theirs, watching to see if they're going to make a move for their guns. Okay, so Star's anxiety is informed and heightened by the trauma of what happened to her friends months earlier, and the anxiety of everyday racism she's confronted with. So character worry is a great way to impart worry to the reader. It's a powerful way to create uncertainty about a character's fate. Okay, on to number 2, character unpredictability. Another great way to create uncertainty for the reader is to make your protagonist unpredictable. In other words, they act out of character due to the circumstances they're up against. For example, Andre Dubus's classic story, A Father's Story, is about a man who's very religious, and half the story sets this up. He goes to church, he prays to God, He's reverent in his religious beliefs. His best friend is a priest. We also learn he's divorced, lives alone, and has one daughter, and I think 2 sons, if I remember correctly. But what happens one night is his daughter is involved in a hit-and-run accident in which a teen boy dies. Now, she comes home to her father crying and worried and tells him what happened. So he drives to the site where the accident happened. He finds the boy on the side of the road. And while he's there, the boy dies. Now he's faced with a moral dilemma. Does he report the accident? Does he call the priest? Or does he hide the evidence and protect his daughter? That's his moral dilemma. We're uncertain how far he'll go and whether or not he'll renounce his own moral religious standards. He does, in fact, protect his daughter. He hides the evidence. He acts out of character. So story is about a character in crisis. There's a moral dilemma. It pushes your character to do things they'll regret later. So 2, character unpredictability. Okay, on to 3, uncertainty in the plot. The reader doesn't want to see every plot twist and turn coming. Often writers will telegraph early in the story, sometimes as early as page 1, what's to come later in the story, rather than withhold it. They answer too many questions up front, leaving no questions open for the reader, and that deflates the tension and the urge to know what will happen next. You always want to stay ahead of the reader. You always know what's coming next. You know whether your protagonist will get what he or she wants by the end or not. You know whether they'll get the desired outcome at the end of each scene. But your character does not. Your character should be in a state of uncertainty at all times. They shouldn't get what they want in any given scene too easily. We have to care and wonder how the scene will end for them. We have to care and wonder how the story will end for them. Will they get what they want at the end of the scene or not? Will they reach their goal by the end of the story or not? So you want to withhold it. You want to make the character and the reader wait. For example, it could take the whole novel for the characters to admit their feelings for one another. There's got to be a question posed by the story. In episode 207, 5 questions to nail down your central story idea, we talked about the essential question your story asks. That question needs to sustain the length of the story. We read to the end to get the answer. Sometimes the character knows something from the past, let's say, but they can't face it themselves. They can't face it head on. And because they're suppressing it, they're dropping hints, but not facing it. That creates uncertainty for the reader. The truth is unveiled in deepening disclosure. Or they're withholding information from other characters and, by extension, from us. For example, in Amy Hempel's story, Today Will Be a Quiet Day, the main character, the father, is planning to commit suicide. But we don't know that until the end. He's hiding it from his children. There are hints in what he says and how he acts, but we don't know where this is going to end. Okay, on to 4, the antagonist. The person or force that's in opposition to your protagonist is unpredictable. This is a powerful way to create uncertainty for your character and for your reader. Now, there are different types of antagonists. The antagonist could be a person, a system, or it could be a force of nature. It could be sentient or non-sentient. Nature, for example, doesn't have a mind of its own, which makes it a formidable opposing force. A tsunami has no thought or choice. I think of the movie The Impossible, based on the true story of a family who survived the 2004 tsunami in Indonesia. The uncertainty was if Maria would survive. She comes dangerously close to dying, and the other uncertainty was whether the family would ever be reunited. The tension comes from anticipating what the opposition will do next. The other uncertainty emerges out of your protagonist's quest to get out of harm's way or handle a situation the antagonist has dealt them. So your antagonist is continuously foiling your protagonist's goal. Your character may also sabotage his or her goal. The uncertainty arises from what the antagonist or antagonistic forces will do next. Or if the protagonist is his own worst antagonist, what will he or she do next to screw it up? If the opposing force is a person, system, or nature, your protagonist doesn't know or is unsure of what or when the antagonist's next move will be. If the character is his own worst enemy, the reader will say, uh-oh, what will he do next to foil his own best interest? If your antagonist is a person or a group of people, you want to make sure they're strategizing and working to stop your main character from moving forward towards his or her goal. Okay, let's wrap this up. We cling to predictability and certainty in real life. It's comforting. We don't like the anxiety of not knowing, but certainty has no place in fiction. Uncertainty is a powerful lever to keep readers invested in your story by having them uncertain about outcomes, uncertain about your character's fate or future. 4 ways to create and sustain uncertainty in your story are: number 1, character worry. This character is worried about what might happen. It's usually related to their own safety or the safety of someone they care about. With this type of uncertainty, we're uncertain about a character's fate. Number 2, character unpredictability. Predictable characters are dull and dismissible. Characters will often go against their own moral code because the stakes are too high. Number 3, uncertainty in the plot. You want to withhold and delay your character's outcome, so always stay one step ahead of the reader. And number 4, the antagonist. Whether it's a person or entity, magical or natural, the character and your reader should always be wondering how they're going to thwart their plans next. You want to stay one step ahead of the reader and, in most cases, your character. You know what's in store for your character next, but to create the tension that emerges from uncertainty, you want to withhold and delay, even with characters who are reflecting on events that happened already, should dispense the details slowly to keep readers uncertain and curious. The bottom line is this. Once your character solves a problem or the uncertainty resolves, another problem will crop up and pose new questions. Just like in our 2024 election in the US, we won't know the outcome until the bitter end. So you want to keep readers guessing. You don't want to give away too much too soon. To create tension that keeps readers leaning in, you want to create uncertainty. So there you have it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you know any writers who need some support in their writing, please share this episode or the Writer Unleashed podcast in general. And if you love what you're listening to, subscribe on your favorite listening platform and please leave me a review. Reading how this podcast impacts your writing truly lights me up and helps me create topics for the show. Till next time, keep writing, and I'll talk to you soon.